Om Stapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmaswarupinim avathara varisthaya ramakrishnaya te namah pavitram charitam yasyaha pavitram jivanam tatha pavitrata swarupinye tasye kurmo namo namah Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Surayim Satchit Sukha Surupaya Swamine Tapaharine Om Sarva Mangala Mangalye Shive Sarvartha Sadhike Sharanye Trambake Gauri Narayani Namostute. We are into the second chapter of Karma Yoga of Swami Vivekananda, What is Duty? I had already given a small introduction to the topic itself. Why what is duty? Based on Varnashrama Dharma and Varnashrama. And later also I gave a bit of introduction into ethics, morality and ethics, where we study what is duty. Is it? So it may be too technical for view. In Kannada, paribhashika shabdagalinda tumbittu. It may be technical, of course, but it is interested people, interested devotees, interested people. It is better to know all these things. You will understand a different level of Swamiji's teachings. That's all. So, sadhana, it is left to yourself. But when you come to understanding and to increase our depth regarding intellectuality with respect to sadhana, all these things are helpful. It's my personal opinion. It's better, it is left to you to take it or not to. So, morality is a way of life. I'll just summarize in 5 minutes. Morality is a way of life, whereas ethics gives a standard for this way of life. It is called an intellectual discipline. Till many centuries, ethics was under Christian theology, and later it was brought into a department of philosophy under axiology, aesthetics, logic and ethics. Generally, Lilly, a famous thinker, Western thinker, called it as a normative science, science of two kinds. One is positive science, second is a normative science. Positive science deals with the facts, physics, chemistry, psychology, psychiatry, anthropology, all these are facts. So it's a positive science. So normative science generally deal with the criteria, the standards. So ethics is dealt in normative science. So there are two theories put forth. There are many things. To summarize, two theories. One is based on, every discussion is based on how to say a particular action is right or wrong. How to define it. In our Hindu scripture, we have a lot of discussions in Dharma Shastras. So, in the same way, in the Western philosophy, of course, I told you in the last class also, in none of our universities, we study Dharma Shastras as a department of ethics. No study at all. If somebody is interested, fortunately, Kane, etc., they have written the history of Dharma Shastras. It's a 7-volume book, such a wonderful research-based. It's not possible for a common man to write it in one's life. Such a big volume. He used to be there in Bombay. Even the library that he visited and wrote that book, if you visit that library, still they have kept the room where Kane wrote the Dharma Shastra. It's one of the best library in the Bombay with all wonderful books. So, in Dharma Shastra, we don't have a discussion with respect to university or neither. Forget about, at least it may not be possible at present in universities, but even at home, we don't have time to discuss Dharma Shastras. So, but in West, many of the top class universities has a department of ethics to study ethics. That's why so many theories have been put forth mainly by them. Though we have all the basis, it is, we have to hear and read from them when you come to discussion regarding ethics. So, here they have put forth two things. One is how to define an action is right or wrong or good or bad. The first theory is to know the result, the goal, the end. If it gives you happiness, then consider the action that you perform is a good action. Very dangerous postulate. Because many people gain happiness by injuring others. Is it not? People like Veerappan, if you have studied his history, and many people have written a lot of things about him. Anyhow, so he had that psychological disorder. He feels happy the moment he injures or kills somebody, kill an elephant. So many people in this world have their disorders in psychology. Psychological disorders they have. So when you think that if you define a good or bad of an action based on its results that gives happiness, then you have got the license to do what you like, because you gain happiness by doing that. So that's called hedonism, utilitarianism. Stuart Mill is the recent professor who propagated universal utilitarianism. Swamiji abjectly rejects this utilitarianism, especially when he comes to Jnana Yoga. So that is the first part. Second part is based on the action itself. So to define action, we need a moral law. To know what is moral law, we have to study ethics, and it comes under normative science. So this is the introduction I gave regarding ethics and morality. If you are further interested, I will not take up in this Karma Yoga class, but whenever, if it permissible, we will discuss separately, personally. Because there are so many things that Swamiji has contributed. We also didn't know, but later on as we go on studying, we will understand. So how Swamiji has contributed with respect to the field of ethics combined with Advaita Vedanta. Nobody has done except Swamiji. Because if you study Advaita Vedanta, if you study Nyaya, if you study Dhardarshana, in bit there, the main postulate of Advaita Vedanta, especially what you speak of traditional Vedantins, Advaita Vedantins. The moment you reject work, they think that is their goal. We will not discuss whether it is right or wrong. But when they say mithya, jagat mithya, so many people still have this idea, at one point of time, let us renounce work. The ideal, because we are so much influenced by that Advaitic Vedantism. I am not speaking about right or wrong, I am just giving so many points, how Swamiji has dealt all these things in Karma Yoga. You should know. So, renouncing karma, we think that's the ideal of life. Is it not? Nobody is satisfied with karma. Though you may accept karma as a yoga also, but still at a particular point something says, Abba Sakapai Jagattu. So at particular one point, everybody has to renounce. And they accept that true sannyasa is the ideal of life. So, how to combine this highest Advaitic, when you come to this Advaita and come to this Karma Yoga? Swamiji has combined all these things in his theory of ethics. So, I thought I wanted to give an introduction to that and summarize what Swamiji wanted to say, but I found it was for some it was too heavy. So that's why I stopped at the introduction. If somebody wants, let us discuss it personally, if I get a time. So now, with beginning of the chapter, what is duty? Swamiji says it is necessary to understand Karma Yoga. To understand Karma Yoga, you have to know what is duty. He began with, if I study now, it begins also. So every religion has their sacred text. If you ask a question to that particular of a respective religion, they say, we consider that as the duty which is written in our sacred text. Swamiji says, then it is very difficult, almost impossible to define the word duty. It's an abstract term. Then how to understand? Swamiji has given the first beginning. It is based on natural or trained impulse. How a person performs his action, it is based on, first thing, either on a natural impulse or a trained impulse. For that I gave the example. Then, second part, how do you say that how does an act becomes a duty? How does an act becomes a duty? What Swami defined? It based on his conscience. So, everybody follows the dictates of his conscience. Swami gave so many examples of non-vegetarianism, of the thugs, and then of the people killing with the common man and the soldier, etc. Till this part we had discussed. Now continuing, that's why Swamiji says, to give an objective definition of duty is thus entirely impossible. So understand, when you say duty, to give objective explanation of duty is impossible. So what does it mean? You can give only a subjective explanation of duty. There is no absolute objective explanation is not possible. The thing with Swami Vivekananda is, you see, the way he was brought up as Narendranath, all these things matters here. He was a young man with so much knowledge, had a suffering in his younger days, then came to Sri Ramakrishna. Even after Sri Ramakrishna's passing away, he had so much struggle, though he so said in his life that he attained Nirvikalpa Samadhi 3 or 4 times. According to life, it differs anyhow. So, with all those experiences, he went to America. So, when he is defining every word, what is duty, he has 2 perspectives. One is an Eastern perspective and a Western perspective. Eastern perspective, he himself is the example. He has seen Sri Ramakrishna, he has seen his own life, he has struggled, he has experienced. When it comes to Western perspective, he has studied the philosophy till Swami Vivekananda. So many philosophies also was brought to linguistics, etc., were developed even later of Swami Vivekananda also. So he knew Western philosophy till he went to West, and he had the knowledge of ethics, Western ethics and Eastern ethics. So based on all these things as the background, he is trying to summarize Karma Yoga. So that is the fineness. You don't get such a wonderful manual from Swami Vivekananda. Any yoga for that matter, Gnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Raj Yoga, anything for that matter. Swamiji gives a simplest, straight, wonderful answer. So here, now Swamiji says it is very difficult to give, more impossible to give a objective explanation of duty. So what is possible is a subjective explanation. So how to define an action as a duty based on subjective explanation? Swamiji says, the action that takes you towards God or Godward is a good action. That you takes towards evil, considers as bad. This is the simplest explanation Swamiji is trying to. He will explain all these things. First thing is subjective explanation what? Godward is good, towards evil is bad. But Swamiji says, how to say a particular action is a godly action or evil action based on certain things, it's okay. When it comes to dharma sukshma, like Arjuna in a battlefield, or a Bhishma on a Sharashayye, or a Dhritarashtra, Dharmaraja, or a Krishna when he came to Memorandum of Understanding, Peace Treaty, Shanti Sandesha, Shanti Duta, when he came to stop the war, so many questions were raised regarding Bhishma, Drona, Krupa, even Vidura. So how to define during those hours? On a particular, in a family life, suppose to respect your father and mother is a God way, that everybody knows. We are not concerned with that. Of course, this begins from there. But when life becomes more and more evolved, it becomes more and more subtle to answer these questions. So that's why Swamiji says, how to define it, Godward or evil? That's why Swamiji says, there is one standard saying or a phrase in the whole world accepted by all mankind. What is it? Swamiji gives an English easy translation. I will give the Sanskrit version of it later. First I will read Swamiji's sentences. Do not injure any being. Not injuring any being is virtue. Injuring any being is sin. This is the famous statement of Vyasa actually. I will give the Sanskrit version. If somebody interested can note it. Sarva Shastra Puraneshu Vyasasya Vachanadvayam. Sarva Shastra Puraneshu Vyasasya Vachanadvayam. Paropakara Punyaya Papaya Parapidanam. Papaya Parapidanam. Sarva Shastra Puraneshu Vyasasya Vachanadvayam. Paropakara Punyaya Papaya Parapidanam. This is the Sanskrit version, Sanskrit shloka. Sarva Shastra Puraneshu Vyasasya is in Shashti Vibhakti. Vyasasya. Vachanadvayam. It's two vachanas of Vyasa. It is considered that Vyasa divided Vedas into 4 and summarized all 18 Puranas. Earlier, Koti Puranam iti manyate. They say used to, before Vyasa it is considered we have Koti 1 crore Puranas. Then Vyasa summarized and put it into 18 Puranas. Even 18 we have not studied. If you think what may be our condition if we had 1 crore Purana. Even understanding Karma Yoga, if it becomes more serious, it becomes very problematic. Think of 1 crore Purana. So, if to put it everything, all Shastra and Purana, Vyasa has 2 vachana to say. What is that? Paropakara Punyaya Papaya Parapidanam. That is, not to injure any being virtue, injuring anybody is a sin. So, this is the subjective explanation of what duty is. Now, Swamiji tries to explain how to take it into Karma Yoga now. He begins his explanation. Swamiji does not classify at a step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, but we have to classify it. Based on our understanding, you have to make it, oh, Swamiji, this is the first step. Oh, this is the second step of duty with respect to Karma Yoga. Oh, this is the third step. You have to classify it. I will give it, as I go on reading it, I will give it an explanation for that. Now, Swamiji begins with Bhagavad-Gita. He says, Bhagavad-Gita frequently alludes to duties dependent upon birth and positions in life. If you have read Bhagavad-Gita, then only you will understand. Swamiji says, when it comes to question of duty, Bhagavad-Gita very often says, duty is dependent on 2 things. One is birth. Second one is position in life. So, primarily, as the first step, duties depends on birth. Second one, it depends on your position in society. I will give the Sanskrit version of so many places give, I will refer only to 2 things. 18th chapter, 45th sloka, Se sve karmanya bhiratah samsiddhim labate naraha. 18th chapter, Moksha Sannyasa Yoga. Se sve karmanya bhiratah labate samsiddhim naraha. Samsiddhim labate naraha se sve karmani abhiratah. One who is established in Swesve karma, he will attain perfection. So, what is our karma as a birth? You are a Brahmin, you are a Kshatriya, you are a Shudra, you are a Vaishya. First established in birth. We don't have conviction. First of all, in our birth. My father gave me this thread ceremony, Upanayana. Why should I perform Sandhya Vandanam? Very first is a Yorker and a googly, you bold for duck. So, he says, Se karmanya bhiratah samsiddhim labate. Krishna says, established in swa karma, nirataha, abhirataha, karma, you are performing abhirataha, then you attain perfection. And in swadharme nidharam shreha paradharmo bhayavaha. Even though paradharma is, though apparently speaking is perfect, but please don't perform it because it's a paradharma. according to ashrama and varna. Perform. That is the first. What do you understand by duty? Perform according to your birth, perform according to your position and life. Swamiji explain, after that I will try to explain. I will just go on with it now first. Then after summarizing, reading this whole page, I will summarize and try to explain. Here Swamiji says, because your duty in the society depends on ideals and activities of the society in which we are born. First is birth. Second, ideals and activities in the world. Here, Swamiji says, never he gives his own example. Generally what happens here is, a man born in India thinks that whole world has to follow his Swadharma. A man born in America thinks his Swadharma should be followed by Indians. To give Swamiji's own example, he gives two examples here. When he was watching the Chicago Fair, somebody pulled his turban. Swamiji used to wear turban in America. So somebody pulled Swamiji's turban. When Swamiji saw that the man who pulled his turban, Swamiji says, he looked like a gentleman, well dressed. But when he asked the question why he pulled it, then he was abashed, to understand that Swamiji knew English. And second time, somebody pushed Swamiji in the fair. So, Swamiji says, why you dress? He asked, why do you push me? Then he says, why do you dress that way? The sympathies of these men were limited within the range of their own language and their own fashions of dress. So, much of the oppression in different countries happens to misunderstanding of the ethics pertain to that country. Swamiji explains his own example and says, strangers are exploited much more in countries, in foreign countries. In every foreign country, strangers are much exploited. That's why Swamiji says Chinese used to call Europeans as foreign devils. He gives all this just to explain. Now, Swamiji begins his explanation. This is the prelude. Swamiji says, let us do the duty which is ours by birth. And when we have done that, let us do the duty which is ours by position in society. So, with respect to what is duty, this is the first step for Karma Yoga. This is the first step. Let us do the duty which is ours by birth. Then when we have done that, let us do the duty which is ours by position in life and in society. Why I am telling this particular sentence as the first step is, as we have discussed earlier, the goal of Karma Yoga is knowledge. Now, applying the goal to the means, you will understand that this is the first step. Always apply the goal to the means. Then you will understand to which step this particular instruction will stand. If I apply the goal, what is the goal? Knowledge. Now Swamiji says, what is duty? First thing is according to your birth. Second thing is the position. Birth is, I have told you, Brahmana, Shudra, Kshatriya, etc., etc., etc. Then your position in the life, in the society, first position will be father or mother, son, brother-in-law, son-in-law, sister-in-law. First position. Second position is the profession, doctor, engineer, IT, BT, GOT, all the second position. Third position, citizen of a country. So these are all the positions. You should be, if you are a father or a mother, you should be a good father, good mother. If you are a particular having a profession, you have to do duty of that profession. And you are a citizen of a country, you have to know the duties and rights of that particular country. Fundamental rights and fundamental duties were taught in the 4th standard, if I remember. We are asked to by heart it, 10 fundamental duties and rights, and we are supposed to write the examination. We forgot in that standard only. So that is the duty of a citizen. That is the position. So perform according to your birth first. When you are at age 8, you were taught in a Brahminical family. Other 3 you can apply accordingly, respectively. We were taught. What we were taught? To do Sandhyavandanam and Agnihotra, morning and evening. Perform it very sincerely. That is your duty. Then, after performing, second step. You come out of your house. You are a citizen. You are neither a Brahmin, nor a Kshatriya, nor a Shudra. You are a citizen of this country. Perform the duty. You go to your office. You are not a Brahmin, you are not a Shudra, you are a IT professional. Perform your duty. That is the first step. Now, apply it to Gnanam. What is the Gnana? What do you mean by knowledge is the goal? Gnanam means infinity, the consciousness, the pure consciousness, which is my real nature. Question comes. That's why you have to apply. Swamiji has not defined it. We have to apply it, all these things. When you apply that you are infinite, you are Atman, then where is the question of birth? Where is the question of profession? Where is the question of life? Where is the question of your citizenship? Here only Advaita Vedanta says renounce. Swamiji reconciles here. So, when we first, unless you perform the duty of birth and position, you cannot be a adhikari for Gnanam. If you have not performed our duty, suppose you have elder parents at home, you have not served them, if you have not taken sannyasa, you have taken sannyasa, that's a different part. If you have not taken sannyasa, if you have a parents at home, if you are not serving them, you have not done your duty, and even if you study Vedanta, it will not give you Atma Gnana. You have failed to do your duty. So, duty is not the end. Duty is only a means, because we are attaining Atman, which is infinity. Duty is finite. We are not going to stick at duty. We have to go. When we say awareness, Atman, pure consciousness, there is no question of duty at all. No duty comes. We have to transcend all limitations. Duty also we have to transcend. There is no question of duty. But to attain that, begin with birth and position in life. That's a se karmanya bharataha samsiddhim narate labaha. There we have to begin. That's why you have to apply. Then you will understand, oh, Swamiji is saying the first. This is the first. If you have any doubt, apply the goal to the teaching. Then you will understand the position of that particular sentence. That's why Swamiji says, everybody on this earth thinks that when it comes to even, say, Swadharme nidam shreyaha, paradharmo bhayavaha. There also, in Bhagavad-Gita, 3rd chapter, Swadharme nidam shreyaha, paradharmo bhayavaha. In the 3rd chapter, when they try to explain Swadharma, how to understand Swadharma? Before performing any Swadharma, first thing, it should be a dharma. Then Swadharma. The action should be a dharmic. Then it should be my Swadharma. Then Swadharme Nidhanam. I will take up afterwards. Let us complete this, because as the idea flows, we should not deviate from this Swamiji sentence. What I am telling now is duty, doing duty according to birth and life and position. That is the first step. Generally, when it comes to the position in society, Swamiji says, everybody thinks that he is fit to become a king. We think that we are fit to become, unfortunately, nobody is recognizing me. It is fortunate that nobody recognized. We think, unfortunately, in company, I am so much capable, I should have become the project manager, and my junior was made the project manager. In a college, I should have become the HOD long back, and now they are making after doing my retirement, and he should not become the CM, I should have become the CM. Swamiji says, everybody thinks that he is fit to become a king. And he makes one statement, no man can long occupy satisfactorily a position for which he is not fit. No man can occupy a position for which he is not fit. If somebody has become a certain thing, he is fit for that position. Swamiji says, we have to accept the nature's decision. Right or wrong is different. That is his position, he is there. You cannot occupy that position for long, for which one is not fit. So, based on your life, position in life and society and birth, you perform your duty. Now, that is the first step. Now, taking Bhagavad-Gita, he explained. Now, he further evolves this idea. Second position. Now, he is coming to the second position. Later on, we shall find that even this idea of duty undergoes change. First duty we have seen. Now, this idea changes. How? Greatest work is done only ever. Greatest work is done only when there is no selfish motive to prompt it. While doing our actions as regarding to birth and position, we might have done through prompted by selfishness. Now Swamiji says, it's all right, you do it. Now you do unselfishly the same thing. That's the second step. First with selfishness, agreed. Swadharma and Varna Dharma. Do. With selfishness, agreed. You are that position. Okay, no, continue. Now try to do the same thing with unselfish attitude. Swamiji here says, the work then should become worship. When you start doing unselfish, the same duty, what you call duty, unselfishly, then that same duty will be converted into worship. Second step. So, why should you try to do it unselfishly? Let us do it with selfish attitude only. Swamiji says, the goal of Karma Yoga, to perform unselfish action, is to attenuate the lower self, ego. To attenuate your lower self. Why? Lot of energy is dissipated at the lower part of our desires. If you are having the ego that I am so and so, selfish attitude, selfish motive will drain our energy. Energies are energy. So Swamiji says, to attenuate that ego, that desire, you have to perform the same duty of life and position with unselfish motive. Then only you deny all your low desires. How do you do as a bhakta? Nama japa. How do you do as a karma yogi? Perform the duty with unselfish attitude. To attenuate the self. Swamiji gives a wonderful, you should be able to understand it. The whole organization of society has thus been developed, consciously or unconsciously, in the realms of action and experience, where by limiting selfishness, we open the way to an unlimited expansion of the real nature of man. Unless you deny this, that will not manifest. Because goal of Karma Yoga is knowledge. How do you have to attenuate this ego? Then only the Atman, the real nature of man, manifest. Here, this is one of the very important part of Karma Yoga. Even in Bhagavad-Gita, I think in third chapter only, Name parthasti kartavyam trishu lokeshu kinchana nana vapta vaptavyam vartayevacha karmani. Third chapter, Bhagavad-Gita. Krishna says, there is no name parthasti kartavyam. There is no kartavya, duty for me. In the whole, all the three words, I don't have any kartavya. Nana vaptam avaptavyancha vartayevacha karmani. Neither to gain nor to lose. I don't have any duty in the three words. When Krishna says, still I am working. Why? For Jagadhita. Here, what is the message that Sri Krishna is trying to give? There is no ego. You have to attenuate. the common example given in everywhere is, though the sun is such a big in its diameter and circumference and radius, a small cloud is possible to cover the sun due to the distance. In the same way, this ego will not allow the infinity to manifest. When you perform action, here in Swadharma also, why they prescribe Swadharma? Because when you perform actions, there should be two things, even according to Bhagavad-Gita. That meaning is hidden here in Swamiji's teaching. Swamiji tried to denial of lower desires, Swamiji says, which duty rigorously requires. When you perform Swadharma, two things should accomplish that. One is Tyaga, second one Jagadhita. Swadharma should always accompany Tyaga and Jagadhita. Tyaga means, if you don't do Tyaga of these local desires, there is no manifestation of your Atman. Because Krishna very particularly in the second chapter itself, he said, your real nature is Atman. Sankhya Yoga deals with Gnana. Then he was confused. If you say knowledge is the goal of life, why are you asking me to wage a war, which is karma? So there are two nishtha. One is karma nishtha, yoga nishtha. There is Sankhya and yoga. He says yoga is karma, Sankhya is gnana in the Bhagavad-Gita. So you are putting me to karma, but you still just now explained gnana. I think, oh Krishna, you are confused. Arjuna says, Bhagavan is not confused. He says, for there are not two nishtha. It is karma nishtha, gnana nishtha. Until unless you don't perform your duty well, you cannot be adhikari for yoga, for Sankhya. What is that adhikaratva? Deny your ego. How to deny? Swadharma. How to do Swadharma? Tyaga and Jagadhita. When you try to do Tyaga and Jagadhita, what will happen? There will be a lot of blows, comes and hits. Because when you do Tyaga and Jagadhita, it's a question of principle. When we are leading a life with principles, always you have to fight a wage a war in society. You try to follow a principle in a company, you say, I follow particular principles. I don't say, suppose in all this modern IT company, majority I have heard, many of our students are in IT companies. Swamiji, weekend there are so many things. Even if you go to, they have a outing, one day outing. So common is some particular things in the evening. So if you are a principled man, you deny it. When you deny it, so many people force you to do it. So it's a blow to your ego. So when you perform, because you do Tyaga. How Tyaga is also based on Yajna. Bhagavad-Gita explains it. There are so many things anyhow. I will give as far as possible the summary of whole things. If you go on explaining, we will never complete Karma Yoga of Swami Vivekananda. So that Swadharma is also based on concept of Yajna. With that Yajna only Tyaga will be there. To do Tyaga, you should not have the concept of, to have the Tyaga, you should have the basis of Yajna. And then that action should be Jagadhita. Then your small ego, this ego is attenuated. In Bhakti also you see, all yogas, the basic principle is attenuating. You should never have any ego. How does a Bhakta will define himself? I am a Dasa of Bhagavan, I am a Amsha of Bhagavan, I am a Sevaka of Bhagavan, I am a son of Bhagavan. So there is no place for this ego. Even a Gnani, there is no place at all. If you read Mandukya Karika, it is Ajatavada. The Jiva has never born. This is a mithya, neither I am speaking nor you are hearing. Ajatavada, there is no birth of Jiva. What remains is Brahman alone. Ekatma Vada. It is all, even Jagrasatma Shushupti, you have the same perception I. Based on that, that is the Turiya. So you deny all these three states. As Mithya. Ajatavada. Never born. Nobody gives any position for this ego. So Karma Yogan has no place to give place for this ego. To attenuate, you begin your duty first with life, birth, life in position. Second, try to do it unselfishly. Then your ego is attenuated, which helps the way to an unlimited expansion of the real nature of man. So, now coming to the third part. Now Swamiji has explained the two part. Now Swamiji is coming the third part. Okay, let us take the example of a father who is trying to do his duty, a mother trying to take care of her children. That is her duty, okay. But if you take the duty, Swamiji says, duty is seldom sweet. Duty is seldom sweet. It's always a bound. You feel, yesterday, I was talking in a village yesterday. Then, while trying to explain them, you need to explain according to their own capacity. It is not according to what we know, what they understand. So, it was in a school. I told, if a teacher, what is Swadharma? If a teacher always blames his teaching, then he has not done the dharma of teaching. If in the same way, then why should he become a teacher? He should never have become a teacher. In the same way, if a mother says, "Ayo, na makkal nodkobekappa," then why? Occasionally saying is allowed. Occasionally saying is allowed. Because if we are human beings with human mind, with human ego, with all human tendencies, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, allowed. But if you go on complaining every day, quit and come out. If a Swami says, after joining Ramakrishna Mission, staying alone is, I understood, staying alone is easy. To stay in an organization is a different caliber. And you need it. Then if I tell, Arey, I am in Shivanalli, so many things, then you will ask, Swami, why are you in Ramakrishna Mission? Come out and stay in Narmada. The moment you say all these things, you are lost in Swadharma. Then that ego is not attenuated. That's why a duty is seldom sweet. Now, what should be added to a duty? Swamiji, Swamiji's explanation is very wonderful here. He gives only 2 sentences, but the meaning is very wonderful. You need to ponder a bit more. Then, you just read it, but you have to ponder a little bit more, even after the lecture. So, Swamiji says, it is love that greases duty. If you want to make duty as sweet, you should grease the wheel of duty with love. Then Swamiji's wonderful statement comes here. Because without love, it becomes a friction. Swamiji says, okay, duty with love gives sweetness. But where does this love come from? Where does this love come? Now we are speaking of Karma Yoga, not Bhakti Yoga. Why Swamiji has brought this word love? It's my mind is a little bit peculiar. Why? Whatever I read, so I think, why should it come here? Love comes in Bhakti. But Swamiji is bringing the word love. You grease the duty with love. These are all the ideas, Swamiji's ideas. Now Swamiji gives a wonderful example. Duty is sweet only through love. And love shines in freedom alone, which is our nature. Love shines in freedom. If you are free, you can love. If you are bound, you can never love. Only a true Swami like Vivekananda Buddha can love. We cannot never love. That is, Swamiji says, you do, though stepping stone, do your duty as Swadharma. Second step, try to do it unselfishly. Now grease at home. If you are a householder, etc., 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 you grease with love, because freedom, love shines only in freedom. If you nowhere it can shine. Love shines. These are all very wonderful sentences which ignites my mind. Even if I am sleeping, if I feel sleepy, if I read these sentences, it will completely removes my sleep. Duty is sweet only through love, and love shines in freedom alone. Swamiji gives an ordinary example. Suppose a wife always complains about husband because she wants husband to be a slave. Why? Because she is slave to lust and anger and greed. Why do you complain your husband? Because you are slave to your greed and anger. That's why you want your husband to be your slave. Vice versa. It applies to husband also. So, freedom, love shines in freedom alone. What does freedom say? Highest expression of freedom is to forbear. Titiksha. Who can do titiksha, perseverance? Perseverance is possible only at a man who has experienced freedom. One who has not experienced a bit of freedom, he always fritter away. Here, in this sense, he is always slave to X, Y, Z. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. That's why now Swamiji tries to explain. This is the third part. We have come till third part. First is life and position. Second part without ego, with unselfish attitude. Third is love should be, duty should be greased with love, because love is a expression of, it expresses only in freedom. Because our goal of life is freedom only. Here you see a Jivan Mukta. There Muktas has two positions, two kinds of Muktas. One is Jivan Mukta and another is Videha Mukta. Jivan Mukta is Mukta while living in this body and mind, in this caricature. And Videha Mukta, he will attain freedom after his death. So after, we have nothing to discuss a Videha Mukta, because he will attain Mukti after his death. But here, is the question of Jivan Mukta. He is free while living in this body and mind. Jivan Muktas like Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, Swamiji, Ramana Maharshi, Sadashiva Brahmendra. So, it is they who can really love, and because there is no expression of their small individual ego. With this, I will conclude. This is the third step Swamiji has taken. Now, Swamiji gives example of how being in Swadharma, one can attain to perfection, taking the well-known story of Mahabharata. With that, he will conclude. See, Swamiji is taking this ordinary meaning of duty to realization of Atman. We may discuss all these things. To give one example of our Indian culture, today morning, actually, because Sunday afternoon I will start at 3:30, 3:15, 3:30. I will be here by 5. Morning, now I made it a point to visit at least 2-3 villages where we are having all self-help group. So today I visited 2 villages. The first very village I visited, morning, the first village, the vasana of this bhumi, of this wonderful Bharat. So the moment I went there, generally we do, every village has got a small temple, very small temple, and we do our self-help group meetings there only. So they were given the information that new Swamiji has come to Shivnali, he will come to visit your self-help group. So I was a bit late, of course I went there. I was only self-help group, you should know, it's only for women folk, only for ladies, not for men. To make them stand on their own feet, to help them to save money, and they will earn the interest to their savings, and they themselves will distribute among themselves through their pratinidhis. That is the system of self-help group. So, the moment I went, they offered one chair, only one chair was there. Of course, they offered that chair, and I sat. Suddenly, one elderly lady came. She heard that Swamiji has come, new Swami. She simply brought a pot of water, washed my feet, offered flowers, offered kunkum, arshanam, etc. Then, who taught them to do this? I am unknown to them, she is unknown to me. But the dharma in this bhumi, with respect to sannyasa, a village woman folk has that knowledge. And we have the responsibility of keeping that knowledge. If you are more intellectual, it is our duty to study Swami Vivekananda. That is my... Because a woman folk can understand to that extent religion. And being in city and having all facilities of a mobile phone, internet, etc., etc. If you don't study Swamiji, then what? She is much better than all of us. She is not at all educated in the sense of academics. And even in Narmada, a fisherman was fishing. And one of our Swami was trying to take a bath in Narmada. So, simply just to ask a question to that person, he asked, जीवन के बारे में आपका क्या इरादा है? The Swami asked that fisherman, he was fishing. First he asked, how many fish you can get in a day? He said, 2 kilo. सिर्फ 2 किलो, हाँ 2 किलो ही मिलेगा बाबा जी. Then, जीवन के बारे में आपका क्या इरादा है? Then he told, हम सब पुतली हैं, भगवान ही करता है. We spent 20 years doing sadhana to understand this, with full of confusion. I took Diksha, my guru is not helping. I went to Ramakrishna Ashrama, that Swami did not just scolded me. And the new Swami has come, that Adhyaksha, he is not at all competent. He go on complaining. He fisherman, fishing. So casual, he might have not lived that life, but that philosophy is there in his mind. Hum sab putli hai, we are just dolls in the hands of Bhagavan. A fisherman. So it forms our duty to ponder a bit little deeper. Is it not after getting education? My father and mother gave me education. In every term, culturally and academically, so much culture they gave. Otherwise, how this body could have all these things? We are not worth, but they gave. And this ashrama has given so many things. And after knowing all these things, if we don't study works of Swami Vivekananda, only attending Aarti and simply going at home and doing Vagaranam, what fun is there in life? That is the natural done by villagers. I didn't tell only they did Pada Puja, and then such a wonderful Catholic attitude they have. Yesterday evening they gave Swamiji, they themselves will prepare prasadam for a deity, they them perform puja. So much things are they without any teaching like a Swami lecturing like this on YouTube. They don't have anybody to lecture on YouTube. But still they have to that knowledge to that extent. And it's my personal, it's left to you to accept or to leave it. My personal, these are all my personal wishes. That devotees of Bangalore Mutt, of any Mutt of course, because I am staying here, I am telling you, it's a relative term. Devotees of any Chinmaya Mission, Ramakrishna Mission, anybody. Of course, I don't know much about Chinmaya Mission, I have not gone. I visited, but I don't know about them. At least Ramakrishna Mission. Coming to ashrama, I should not be only bhaktas. You should have intellectual understanding and clarity of thought. That gives the status of a bhakta. Otherwise, so a little bit, you try to deep philosophically, even somebody in Bhava Prachara, Mangalore Ashrama, you should have simplified still more. I spoke hardly 20 minutes. My Mangalore lectures hardly, the Darshanikara Saralate, Jivan Sutra Saralate, 20 minutes. That 20 minutes full of anecdotes. Even some of our own Swamis told me, you should have been still more simplified. They will sleep, but that's all. If you make too simplified, they will not understand the value at all. Forget about Advaita Siddhi and Madhusudana Saraswati. We are not talking about Madhusudana Saraswati, Advaita Siddhi. We are talking at least of completers of Swami Vivekananda. So, my expectation is the village people have so much knowledge. It's all my personal, you should not quote this in Andhra Swami and Mangalanathanandaji quoted. No, you don't have that freedom and it's not your duty. Swadharma idam shreya. My Swadharma I am telling, your Swadharma is not to quote. Here, if acceptable, digest it. Not acceptable, just while going in a car, you delete the data. Automatically many things get deleted due to your problem of memory. Whatever remains, that also you delete. My personal ambition, all this my personal wishes, that's all. So again, next Sunday we will meet with Leela Prasanga. Karma Yoga again in the month of July. I will continue, and a bit of explanation of Karma Yoga of Bhagavad-Gita is also necessary, because Swami brings that idea also. I will try to combine both and complete what is duty. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.
खण्डन भव बन्धन जग वन्दन वन्दित निरञ्जन नररूपधर निरञ्जन नररूपधर निर्गुण मोचन अघदूषण जगभूषण चिद्घन ज्ञानाञ्जन विमल नयन ज्ञानाञ्जन विमल नयन वीक्षण मोह भास्वर भावसागर चेर उन्मग प्रेम कथा भक्तार्जन युगल चरण भक्तार्जन युगल चरण तारण भव पाझम्भित योग ईश्वर जगदीश्वर योग निराधन समाहित मन निराधन समाहित मन निरखित तव कृपा भञ्जन दुःखगञ्जन करुणाघन कर्म कठोर प्राणार्पण प्राणार्पण जगत तारण कृन्तन कनिडो वञ्चन कामकाञ्चन निन्दित इन्द्रिय ईश्वर है नरवर क्या ईश्वर है नरवर देह पदे अनरा निर्भय क्षय दृढ निश्चय मानस शरण त्यजे जाते कोलमा संपद पद भव पुष्पद वारियथा प्रेमार्पण समदरुशन प्रेमार्पण समदरुशन जगजन दुःखजा संपद तव श्रीपद भव पुष्पद वारियता प्रेमार्पण समदरुशन प्रेमार्पण समदरुशन जगजन दुःखजा नमो नमो प्रभवाक्यमनादित नमो नमो प्रभवाक्यमनादित मनोवचनैकधा प्रभमनोवचनैकधा ज्योतिर्ज्योतिर्मुजन हृदि कंदर ज्योतिर्ज्योतिर्मुजन हृदि कंदर तुमितम भंजन प्रभु तुमितम भंजन नमो नमो प्रभवाक्यमनादित नमो नमो प्रभवाक्यमनादित मनोवचनैकधा प्रभमनोवचनैकधा ज्योतिर्ज्योतिर्मुजन हृदि कंद ज्योतिर्ज्योतिर्मुजन हृदि कंद तुमितम भंजन प्रभु तुमितम भंजन धे 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 लंग रंग भंग बाजे अंग संग मृदंग धे 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 लंग बाजे अंग संग मृदंग गाये छंद भकत वृंद आरती तुमा गाये छंद भकत वृंद आरती तुमार जय जय आरती तुमार हर हर आरती तुमार शिव शिव आरती तुमार खंडन भव बंधन जग वंदन वंदे जय श्री गुरु महाराज जी के जय। ॐ ह्रीं ऋतं त्वमचलो गुणजे गुणेढ्यः नक्तं देवं सकरुणं तव पाद पद्मं मोहङ्कषं बहुकृतं न भजे यतोऽहं तस्मात् त्वमेव शरणं मामदेन बन्धो भक्ति भगश्च भजनम् कारे गच्छन् चलं सुविपुलं गमनाय तत्त्वं वक्त्रधृतोऽपि हृदय न मे भाति किञ्चित् तस्मात् त्वमेव शरणं मामदेन बन्धो तेजस्तरन्ति तरसा त्वयि तृप्ततृष्णा रागे कृते ऋतपथे त्वयि राम कृष्ण मर्त्यामृतं तव पदं मरणोर्मिनाशं तस्मात् त्वमेव शरणं मामदेन बन्धो कृत्यं करोति कलुषं कुहकान्तकारे स्नान्तं शिवं सुविमलं तव नाम नाथ यस्मादहं त्वशरण जगदेकगम्या तस्मात् त्वमेव शरणं मामदेन बन्धो ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपेण अवतार वरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः ॐ नमः श्री भगवते कृष्णाय नमो नमः ॐ नमः श्री भगवते राम कृष्णाय नमो नमः ॐ नमः श्री भगवते राम कृष्णाय नमो नमः। प्रकृतिं परमामभयां वरदा नररूपधरां जनतापहरा शरणागतसेवकतोषकरे मे परां जननीं जगतं गुणहीनसुतान् पराधयतां कृपयाद्य समुद्धर मोहगता तरणीं भवसागरपारकरे प्रणमामि परां जननीं जगतं विषयं कुसुमं परिहृत्य चरणामृतशान्ति सदा पिब भृङ्गमनो भवरोगहरां प्रणमामि परां जननीं जगतां कृपां कुरु महादेव सुतेषु प्रणतेषु च नाश्रयदानेन कृपामयि नमोऽस्तु ते लज्जापटावृते नित्यं शारदे ज्ञानदायिके पापेभ्यो नः सदा रक्ष कृपामयि नमोऽस्तु ते रामकृष्ण गतप्राणा तन्नाम श्रवणप्रिया तद्भाव रञ्जिताकारां प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः पवित्रं चरितं यस्याः पवित्रं जीवनं तथा पवित्रता स्वरूपिण्यै तस्यै कुर्मो नमो नमः। देवी प्रसन्नां प्रणता त्रिहन्त्रे धर्मपात्रे तां शारदां भक्तिविज्ञानधात्रीं दयास्वरूपां प्रणमामि नित्यं स्नेहेन बध्नासि मानस्मदीयं दोषान् शेषान् सगुणीकरोषि नाहेतनानादयसे सदोषान् साङ्ख्ये गृहीत्वा यदिदं विचित्रं प्रसीद मातर्विनयेन याचे नित्यं भवस्नेहवती सुतेषु प्रेमैकबिन्दुं चिरदग्धचित्ते वेशिञ्च चित्तं कुरु न सुशान्तं जननीं शारदां देवीं रामकृष्णं जगद्गुरुं पादपद्मे तयो श्रुत्वा प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः। सर्वमङ्गलमाङ्गल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थसाधिके शरण्ये त्र्यम्बके गौरी नारायणी नमोस्तुते। सृष्टिस्थितिविनाशाना शक्ति भूते सनातने गुणाश्रये गुणमाये नारायणी नमोस्तुते। शरणागत दीनार्ता परित्राण परायणे सर्वस्यार्ति हरे देवे नारायणे नमोस्तुते। जय नारायणि नमोस्तुते। जय नारायणि नमोस्तुते। जय नारायणि नमोस्तुते। जय नारायणि नमोस्तुते। ಕೀರ್ತನ ಸಂಗ್ರಹ ಭಾಗ 1 ಪುಟ 175. ಶ್ರೀಪತಿಯು ನಮಗೆ ಸಂಪದವೀಯಲಿ. ಶ್ರೀಪತಿಯು ನಮಗೆ ಸಂಪದವೀಯಲಿ. ವಾಣಿಪತಿಯು ನಮಗೆ ದೀರ್ಘಾಯು ಕೊಡಲಿ, ಶ್ರೀಪತಿಯು ನಮಗೆ ಸಂಪದವೀಯಲಿ. ವಾಣಿಪತಿಯು ನಮಗೆ ದೀರ್ಘಾಯು ಕೊಡಲಿ, ಶ್ರೀಪತಿಯು ನಮಗೆ ಸಂಪದವೀಯಲಿ. ವರವಿಬುಧರನ ಪೊರೆಯ ವಿಷವ ಕಂಠದಲ್ಲಿಟ್ಟ ಹರ ನಿತ್ಯ ನಮಗೆ ರಕ್ಷಣೆ ನೀಡಲಿ. ವರವಿಬುಧರನ ಪೊರೆಯ ವಿಷವ ಕಂಠದಲ್ಲಿಟ್ಟ ರಕ್ಷಣೆ ನೀಡಲಿ. ನರರೊಳುನ್ನತವಾದ ನಿತ್ಯ ಭೋಗಗಳನ್ನು, ನರರೊಳುನ್ನತವಾದ ನಿತ್ಯ ಭೋಗಗಳನ್ನು ಪುರುಹೂತ ದಯದಿಂದ ಪೂರ್ಣ ಮಾಡಿಸಲಿ. ಶ್ರೀಪತಿಯು ನಮಗೆ ಸಂಪದವೀಯಲಿ. ವಾಣಿಪತಿಯು ನಮಗೆ ದೀರ್ಘಾಯು ಕೊಡಲಿ, ಶ್ರೀಪತಿಯು ನಮಗೆ ಸಂಪದವೀಯಲಿ. ವಿನತ ಸಿದ್ಧಿ ಪ್ರಜನ ವಿಘ್ನೇಶ ದಯದಿಂದ ನೆನೆದ ಕಾರ್ಯಗಳ ನೆರವೇರಿಸಲಿ ಹರಸಿ. ವಿನತ ಸಿದ್ಧಿ ಪ್ರಜನ ವಿಘ್ನೇಶ ದಯದಿಂದ ನೆನೆದ ಕಾರ್ಯಗಳ ನೆರವೇರಿಸಲಿ ಹರಸಿ. ದಿನ ದಿನ ಆಪತ್ತುಗಳ ಕಳೆದು, ದಿನ ದಿನ ಬೋಧನ್ವಂ ಆಪತ್ತುಗಳ ಕಳೆದು ಮನಹರುಷವಿತ್ತು ಮನ್ನಿಸಲಿ ಬಿಡದೆ. ಶ್ರೀಪತಿಯು ನಮಗೆ ಸಂಪದವೀಯಲಿ. ವಾಣಿಪತಿಯು ನಮಗೆ ದೀರ್ಘಾಯು ಕೊಡಲಿ, ಶ್ರೀಪತಿಯು ನಮಗೆ ಸಂಪದವೀಯಲಿ. ನಿರತ ಸಜ್ಞಾನವನ ಬೆಳಗ್ಗೆ ಕೃಪೆಗೈಯ ಗುರುಗಳ ಆಶೀರ್ವಾದ ನಮಗಾಗಲಿ. ನಿರತ ಸಜ್ಞಾನವನ ಬೆಳಗ್ಗೆ ಕೃಪೆಗೈಯುವ ಗುರುಗಳ ಆಶೀರ್ವಾದ ನಮಗಾಗಲಿ. ಪುರಂದರ ವಿಠ್ಠಲನ ಕರುಣದಿಂದಲೇ ಸಕಲ, ಪುರಂದರ ವಿಠ್ಠಲನ ಕರುಣದಿಂದಲೇ ಸಕಲ ಸುರಲೋರುಮೆ ನಮಗೆ ಸುಸ್ಥಿರವಾಗಲಿ. ಶ್ರೀಪತಿಯು ನಮಗೆ ನಮಗೆ ದೀರ್ಘಾಯು ಕೊಡಲಿ ಶ್ರೀಪತಿಯು ನಮಗೆ ಸಂಪದವೀಯಲಿ. ಭಾಗ 1 ಪುಟ 156. ಯಾರ ಮಹಿಮಾ ಜ್ಯೋತಿ ಜಗವನು. ಯಾರ ಮಹಿಮಾ ಜ್ಯೋತಿ ಜಗವನು ಅಮೃತದಂದದಿ ಎಲ್ಲರೆದೆಯನು. ಯಾರ ಮಹಿಮಾ ಜ್ಯೋತಿ ಜಗವನು ಅಮೃತದಂದದಿ ಎಲ್ಲರೆದೆಯನು. ಯಾರ ಮಹಿಮಾ ಜ್ಯೋತಿ ಜಗವನು ಅಮೃತದಂದದಿ ಎಲ್ಲರೆದೆಯನು ತುಂಬಿರೋ ಮಾಂಚನವಗೈವದ ಅಂಥ ಪ್ರೇಮದ ಜಲಧೆಯ ದೇವನಿನ್ನೊಳಗಿರುವವರೆಗೂ ಸಾರು ಆತನ ಮಹಿಮೆಯ ಸಾರು ಆತನ ಮಹಿಮೆಯ. ಯಾರ ಶ್ರೀ ಶುಭನಾಮ ಹೃದಯದ ಕೊರಗನೆಲ್ಲ ಕಳೆಯುವುದೋ. ಯಾರ ಶ್ರೀ ಶುಭನಾಮ ಹೃದಯದ ಕೊರಗನೆಲ್ಲ ಕಳೆಯುವುದೋ. ಯಾರ ನೆಲ ಜಲ ಗಗನ ದೇಶವನೆಲ್ಲ ವ್ಯಾಪಿಸಿ ನಿಲುವರೋ. ಯಾರ ನೆಲ ಜಲ ಗಗನ ದೇಶವನೆಲ್ಲ ವ್ಯಾಪಿಸಿ ನಿಲುವರೋ. ಯಾರ ಶ್ರೀ ಶುಭನಾಮ ಹೃದಯದ ಕೊರಗನೆಲ್ಲ ಕಳೆಯುವುದೋ. ಯಾರ ಯಾರ ಅನ್ವೇಷಣೆಯಲಿ ಜಗ ಯಾರ ಅನ್ವೇಷಣೆಯಲಿ ಜಗ ಬರಿದೆ ತೊಳಲುತ್ತಲಿರುವುದೋ. ಯಾರ ಅನ್ವೇಷಣೆಯಲಿ ಜಗ ಬರಿದೆ ತೊಳಲುತ್ತಲಿರುವುದೋ. ದೇವನ ತಿಳಿದು ಬಣ್ಣಿಪ ಶಕ್ತಿ ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಲಭಿಸಿದೆ. ಅವನ ಮಹಿಮೆಗೆ ಪಾರವಲ್ಲಿದೆ ಆದಿ ಅಂತ್ಯಗಳಲ್ಲಿವೆ. ಯಾರ ಅನ್ವೇಷಣೆಯಲಿ ಜಗ ಯಾರ ನಿಜದ ತಿಳಿವಿನ ತವರು ಹವನು ನಿತ್ಯ ಜೀವನ ಚೇತನ. ನಿಜದ ತಿಳಿವಿನ ತವರು ಹವನು ನಿತ್ಯ जीवन चेतना नित्य जागृत निर्विमेषण दिव्य शुद्ध निरंजना नित्य जागृत निर्विमेषण दिव्य शुद्ध निरंजना आवन दर्शन यदय केलवन तुलिदु गैवध पावना आवन दर्शन यदय केलवन तुलिदु गैवध पावना यार महिमा ज्योति जगवन अमृत दंदरि दिल्लरे दयन यार महिमा ज्योति जगवन अमृत दंदरि दिल्लरे दयन तुम मेरो अंत प्रेम जलधिया जीवनिನ್ನೊಳಗಿರುವವರೆಗೂ ಸಾರುವಾತನ ಮಹಿಮೆಯ ಸಾರುವಾತನ ಮಹಿಮೆಯ
श्रीरामकृष्णं शिरसा नमामि मम रामकृष्णं मनसा स्मरामि श्रीरामकृष्णं शिरसा नमामि मम रामकृष्णं मनसा स्मरामि वेदान्तवेद्यं विज्ञानबोधं वेदान्तवेद्यं विज्ञानबोधं विवेकरूपं वैराग्यनिलयं विवेकरूपं वैराग्यनिलयं श्रीरामकृष्णं शिरसा नमामि मम रामकृष्णं मनसा स्मरामि तव सौम्यरूपं मोक्षस्वरूपं तव सौम्यरूपं मोक्षस्वरूपं तव नामगानं महिमा ते मधुरं तव नामगानं मधुराते मधुरं श्रीरामकृष्णं शिरसा नमामि मम रामकृष्णं मनसा स्मरामि परमात्मरूपं पुराणपुरुषं परमात्मरूपं रागादिरहितं शान्तस्वरूपं रागादिरहितं शान्तस्वरूपं श्रीरामकृष्णं शिरसा नमामि मम रामकृष्णं मनसा स्मरामि देवस्वरूपं देवीस्वरूपं देवस्वरूपं देवीस्वरूपं भवमुक्तिहेतुं श्रेष्ठावतारं भवमुक्तिहेतुं श्रेष्ठावतारं श्रीरामकृष्णं शिरसा नमामि मम रामकृष्णं मनसा स्मरामि वन्दे भवेशं भवरोगवैद्यं वन्दे भवेशं भवरोगवैद्यं तमेव वन्दे भुवि रामकृष्णं तमेव वन्दे भुवि रामकृष्णं श्रीरामकृष्णं शिरसा नमामि मम रामकृष्णं मनसा स्मरामि श्रीरामकृष्णं शिरसा नमामि मम रामकृष्णं मनसा स्मरामि मम रामकृष्णं मनसा स्मरामि राम सुमिर राम सुमिर राम सुमिर राम सुमिर यही तेरो काज है राम सुमिर राम सुमिर राम सुमिर राम सुमिर यही तेरो काज माया संग त्याग प्रभु जी के शरण लाग माया को संग त्याग प्रभु जी के शरण लाग जगत सुख मान मिथ्या जगत सुख मान मिथ्या झूठो सब साज है राम सुमेरा राम सुमेरा राम सुमेरा राम सुमेरा यही तेरा काज है पीछान सपने जो धन पीछान काहे पर करत मान सपने जो धन पीछान काहे पर करत बार किसी भीत जैसे, बार किसी भीत जैसे, वसुधा को राज है। राम सुमेरा, राम सुमेरा, राम सुमेरा, राम सुमेरा, यही तेरा काज है। कहत बात, नानक जन कहत बात, बिन से जय है तेरो गात। नानक जन कहत बात, बिन से जय है तेरो गात। छिन छिन करे गयो काल, छिन छिन करे गयो काल, तैसे जात आज है। राम सुमेरा, राम सुमेरा, राम सुमेरा, राम सुमेरा, यही तेरो काज है। राम सुमेरा, राम सुमेरा, राम सुमेरा, राम सुमेरा, यही तेरो काज है।
जय श्री गुरु महाराज जी की जय। जय श्री महामाये की जय। जय श्री स्वामी जी महाराज जी की जय।